which some of you may know as a novel, and some of you may have purchased from the Jane Austen Centre or purchased online. And it's a novel that's been inspired by the festival. So in the life of the festival now, we've got people who have not only attended and met and become great friends, but they're also being inspired to write fiction as a story of the festival. So it kind of lives on, and we've got a lovely community that's growing from the festival globally. I think we can all recognise that. So it's my great pleasure tonight to introduce Cass Grafton and Ada Bright, who are the co-authors of the novel. So welcome. So to kick off things, I'll ask a few questions, and then if there's any questions from the audience, you can chip in later on. So what I want to ask you first is this lovely book that I've read and I think is a fantastic read as a fantasy novel with touches of romance, and is all about the location of the festival and the city. But what was it that inspired you to actually come up with this notion of writing a book that has in it a what if? I'm not spoiling it too much, those who haven't read it, but the what if Jane had not written her novel? How could you do this? What did you do?
Well, that's actually probably a two-part answer, and I would say that I would start with, so Cass and I met on the internet in a fan forum 17 years ago, and I'm from California, she's from here, well not here, but England, and we became very close friends very fast, and obviously through the years we've also become family. And so one of the inspirations for the book and the idea for what if is, how would we have found each other? We wouldn't have found each other without some of these fictional fantasy and loves that we have, these passions that we have. And so what we knew we wanted to write together, and so that friendship and the being grateful for that friendship is part of it. And so then we brought in also not just the gratefulness, but the what we think is pretty funny, the differences between being very close friends but being culturally quite different. And so our characters in the particular charm of Miss Jane Austen are reminiscent of some of the funny things that have happened to us as we've grown as friends, even though we've lived thousands of miles apart. But particularly the plot comes from something that happened here in Bath with Cass in real life, if you want to share.
Yeah, okay. I stayed, a few years ago, I stayed in 4 Sydney Place, which, as you all know, was a former home of Jane Austen when it used to be holiday lets. And I was in the ground floor apartment, and I went to sleep on the first night, and I was very conscious of being in a house that Jane used to live in. So, of course, never mind your writerly imagination, you've got the Jane Austen thing going on, and you're thinking, maybe she's still here, maybe she's still here. But I went to sleep, and when I got up in the morning, there was a door between the bedroom and the sitting room at the front. No lock on it, just a handle, and it wouldn't open. And I couldn't get it open, and I was a bit concerned because it was a very short visit, and I'd only brought one pair of shoes, and they were in the other room. So I couldn't actually go out or do anything because I couldn't get to my shoes. So luckily I had my phone with me, so I was able to contact the holiday let company, who said, "Well, that's strange, that's never happened before. We'll come round and rescue you." But of course, my writerly imagination went, maybe Jane's the other side of it. Maybe she slipped through time and she's still in there, and because she hasn't gone, the door won't open. So that was the first thing. And then in the same room, in the back of the wall, there's an old iron safe built into the back of the wall. And I thought, And then I had a chat with the holiday company because they had renovated the building, and I'm not going to say what they told me because it's key to the plot of the book.
But it's a huge gift to you as writers, that whole setting
Yeah.
and scenario
Yeah.
around a property and art.
Yeah.
being able to live with that.
Yeah, and so he told us a few things that then made us think, okay, we think we have a plot.
And how do you feel that you then, because Jane Austen is a character in the novel, so how do you go about trying to write Jane Austen as a character, as a personality in your book?
We started off saying we are not going to do that. We are going to make sure that we don't have to try to put words into Jane Austen's mouth. We're going to try to be, very, very, very
She was
careful.
going to be so in the background.
She was just a hint.
Having a great time in the background, but just in the background.
But she wouldn't stay in the background. So she is a character, but we have,
She's a main character.
we have tried to be very respectful and
But she's a lot of fun.
she's just,
I think it's a gift
She's a lot of
really,
fun.
in a way, and kind of penetrating that who she is, both as a figurehead in terms of literature, but also as a personality of who she is.
right.
Did you think about like through her letters and
Yeah,
the-
I mean, obviously we've got the voice of her letters and the voice of her novels, and the voice of her letters is very informal because mainly it's to her sister.
yeah.
So that helped.
Yeah.
Well, there's a huge sense of that kind of sisterly connection because you utilise that relationship with Cassandra that she had, don't you, as
Yes.
a dramatic effect in the novel,
Yeah.
which is lovely.
Yeah, but then we also thought, what if she got stuck?
Yes, if they were stuck apart.
What if she got stuck
Yeah.
in the future, couldn't get back?
Unable to.
And then because she travelled forward from 1803, which as you all know is years before she became a published author, everything to do with her would disappear. So it did.
Which is just one of the most tense and difficult things that you can ever read in fiction. The sense of what if Jane Austen never wrote her books? It was just like I was in bits.
But apart from the contribution to the literary world, it was the personal impact that we wanted to explore, which was how it would mean, like people here who've only met because of a shared love of Jane Austen, who would never have met, friends you would never have made,
Well, yeah. I think
places you
that's
would never have
so-
gone, and
Yeah.
so that was a big part of it.
Well, it's so important. I think that can't ever be underestimated with all of the gatherings that happen at the festival that that influence you. The way in which it's about bringing people together, and different people from so many different walks of life and different nationalities coming together.
If anyone's concerned, by the way, we believe in happy endings.
Yeah. There's nothing bleak.
It's a very upbeat novel.
Very
Yeah.
upbeat. So bringing together, people coming together, people from different parts of the world coming together. You two are doing something that I, as a writer, just makes my blood run cold. You co-author. You're not just like editing you're co-authoring novels together. So how does that work? How do you not kill each other?
It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. Because you're on
I'm
different
here.
continents. Yeah.
I think, well, tell me when you want to jump in here, but we have figured out some things that work and don't work for us. And one thing we realized early on that does not work for us is to outline apart from each other. So if we are just bouncing ideas off each other, we're too nice to tell each other that we hate it, and so then we just sort of stop and it never goes back. So we made a rule that when we're writing, we outline together in literally the same place, so that I can see in her face, oh, she didn't like that.
So you do
I have
that
one of those
via,
faces.
like a FaceTime?
No, we outline together.
When you do it,
This is
in
the
person.
beginning of a book,
Right.
right at the beginning of a book.
And then once
we
we
don't
have,
meet again until we're doing things like this.
That's right.
And celebrating.
so we do all of our tense fighting together in person, and then And then our structure is just really simple. She tends to go in order. I tend to popcorn around different chapters that I know are going to happen. And so, and then because of the time difference, if Cass has written a chapter or a portion of a chapter, she will upload it. I will get up the next morning and I will see that it's been uploaded and I will edit it. And then I will upload it, and then I will start on a new chapter and upload that. And then she'll wake up in the morning, and if she thinks I need to have a talking to, then we'll have a meeting on FaceTime. Or she'll just edit and keep going. So there's few
when
times.
there's kind of silence on either end, you know it's going well.
Yeah.
But if you feel you have to come together electronically,
We do talk a lot.
We talk a lot
Yeah.
to make sure that
Yeah.
we know where we're going, but
so it's like a very complicated game of international tennis.
yes,
That's going
exactly.
back and forth, but chapters
Right.
across the net.
And we were very worried that you'd be able to tell that it would be jarring from one paragraph to the next, one character to the next. But we've had fights before. We don't remember who wrote what, and I'll compliment her. Wow, that section was beautiful, and she's like, you wrote that. I don't remember.
There you go. That's really the
Yeah.
yeah. Effect of your working together. Well, I really want to congratulate you on it because I think it's a wonderful book. I think it's got a great there's a great kind of future ahead of it now through digital formats and print and everything. Plus the sequel that has now been, the trailer for the sequel
Yes.
is out.
So
If you flip over some of the postcards
Yeah.
for this, you'll see the
cover.
sequel cover is there.
It's pink. Like your cover.
All good covers are pink. Say is there anything? Can you tease a little bit about the sequel? Just a tiny touch. Are we in Bath still, or are
We do,
taking
yeah.
it out?
Well, there's no
Well.
great, there's no great distance between it. So like it's 6 months later, it's sort of happened. It's just
It happened
consecutive.
right on the tail
Yeah.
of the last
So
plot.
yes,
Yeah.
it starts immediately in Bath, but then it goes back to 1813. So the first book is entirely set in the 21st century.
Right.
The second book
is-
takes the characters. Jane takes the characters back to
So it's
1813.
so they get a taste of 19th
They're
century
in Hampshire.
life.
And there's a
in
specific
Hampshire.
reason why she
Right.
takes Rose, our lead character, back. And at the end again, they're back in Bath. And the third book we are plotting on Sunday because we're together.
Well, if you want to give them any, things.
If you want, if you'd like to be a little character, come and see us.
Yeah.
We'll write you in somewhere.
Got my name's in there somewhere.
Yes.
You've got Malcolm in there.
Oh, yeah,
James,
we
James
that's-
Malcolm,
yeah.
one of the big characters in that book, yeah. Jackie has a cameo.
Yeah,
I'm
on the top of a bus.
There you go. So, now, does anybody have any questions for the authors? Before you go back? Yes, over here, yes.
No, I was going to ask, because I live in Bath, we're very conscious that people ask about Jane Austen, and they sometimes ask me, they say, well, she didn't like Bath, and that's disputed, and her time in society here was not very happy. She wasn't beautiful, she wasn't rich, she probably didn't prosper very well in the very snobbish society in Bath at the time. But if she, what I say to people is that if she had married, possibly the handsome Irishman, Lefroy, and we might not have got the books. If she settled down, had children, all her time was taken up with that, we might not have got the books. So you said your blood ran cold at the thought she would
Yes.
never have written. Is that a factor? Is that a factor in the books that you could?
Oh,
that you
do you
work
want to
with?
discuss how she feels about it?
We do touch on her feelings about that.
Right.
I don't like to, it feels awkward saying how you feel because you don't want to contradict anyone's opinion. I believe she didn't enjoy living here because she was a country girl.
Correct.
But I
Yes.
do not think she hated Bath. I mean, we know as a young girl she visited and really
Yes.
enjoyed it.
Yes.
I just think it was not her choice of somewhere to live. But I think being Jane, she just made the most of it. She loved to walk. Sydney Gardens at the time was the outer reaches of Bath. It was countryside right on her doorstep.
And there was all the entertainments that
And she did go
liked.
to the entertainments and enjoy them. We know that from her letters. So I think she just made the best of it.
Well, one of the things that I take from the letters is the issue about all the kind of bronchial and sinus conditions that the family suffered from because of the pollution. And I think that's the thing which nobody enjoyed about Bath at the time. All the coal and wood smoke and the pollution in all cities would have been, you know, hard to live with, and that's what she complained about, their health. But I don't think that she enjoyed the society, and she enjoyed being part of. She liked getting drunk. We know that.
She liked her
She
wine.
liked, you know, and she liked to have a nice, you know. She had like a hot bacon sandwich the next day to get over the hangover.
Oh, carbs, see, they weren't even there.
Yeah, she had carbs and good, you know, solid pork.
And to give her so much material.
Exactly. We wouldn't have had the books in the same way that we do. So anybody else has any questions? Yes, hello, yes.
Just wondering, so you said you got a lot of the voice from the letters from her and her sister. How did you then adapt that voice to then approach something she may say colloquially to other people she might have then met? Because to use the same voice she used with letters with her sister is a very personal voice that it would then be massively changed between a sibling to then other people. So it's potentially a quite interesting place to come from, but how do you then adapt that to then work?
It's actually very challenging.
Yeah.
Very challenging.
Yes, well, especially for me, who I'm already trying to adapt all my Americanisms so that I don't mention Thanksgiving or something. But I also think, like, if you read, we have an idea that this time travel thing is not a particularly new thing for her by the time you meet her in this book.
Sure.
So there are some things that she's adapted to that helped us be able to add that in. And also, I think that, at least for me, it was marrying who I thought she was to how she affected me. So there's kind of this, kind of putting some of her, how much she means to us in that. So there's, you know, it was hard.
Yeah.
That was,
It was the hardest
Yeah.
thing because, and she
Yeah.
wasn't meant to be a main character, and
No,
she genuinely insisted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she's a hero, and I think all of us have heroes in various respects, and we wouldn't, for life of us, ever think of putting words in their mouths or anything like that stuff.
I
So it's a
know.
really tricky thing to bring that in. So
And
I'm
she's-
actually really
yeah.
intrigued.
It was important to us that she was very strong, and that even when she got stuck, she was no victim. She was like, oh well, you know, thought this might happen, sort of thing. You know, she's very, not in those words, obviously. She didn't talk like
Well,
that.
well, of course, you turned down a man in a marriage society,
Yes.
so
Exactly.
that gives you a bit of an idea of
Yeah.
the sort of
Yeah,
stock
exactly.
she had.
So you see more of the connection with Cassandra in the second book because they've gone into the past. Obviously, in the first book, it's really only a communication. I can't tell you how.
I think that's what happened
Is it
as
WhatsApp?
well.
It is though, isn't it?
And I think that you're definitely onto something because there are more than one, you know, there's more than one books and adaptations and things now that look at her like becoming Jane Austen and Miss Austen Regrets, those type of things that are speculating about her relationships and about her personal voice. You know, lots of, or you're in an interesting group of authors.
We haven't actually touched
dramatists.
on personal relationships with men.
Yeah.
Because our books are very much about friendship, female friendship,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so on. So
But I think that comes across from her voice in her novels, the way that the characters are mediated through her voice. And we learn about the characters and we get to know them thanks to her. Is there anybody else with any questions for the authors?
I have another one, but I don't want to
Well,
take up the time.
I tell you what, they're here
That's
till
right.
the close of the evening.
Well, if
So,
I could just say, we are being allowed to go up and see Six Withens Church if you wanted to.
Oh,
So
great.
it's heading for 7:10.
Okay.
One quick question and
Yeah.
Great.
So could you just pick up your point about becoming Jane? Because what I said earlier was that she wasn't beautiful, she wasn't rich, her father was a poor country parson. When he died, they descended into genteel poverty. But if you put a beautiful actress like Anne Hathaway in the role,
Yeah.
it distorts it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it throws
The
things.
context
It
is
distorts
lost.
it.
Yeah.
It'd be like
Yeah.
making Jane Eyre a beautiful girl.
Yes.
Right, and the cleverness is how her characters manipulated their way through
Yes, it's
the
the
society of
personality.
the time. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, it just remains to thank the authors and
Thank you.
to Jackie and to the other
Thank you.
volunteers, and we can enjoy some together.